Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is now 7 p.m. and we are live online.
Evening, everybody. So the first part of tonight's meeting is a workshop. So it is the informal portion where the council prepares for the full meeting. The full meeting will follow immediately thereafter. And I'm guessing it should start up around 7:30, maybe 7:45. So let's do a quick roll call for the workshop. So I see Molly, Jeff, Paloma, Pam, George, and Lee. Amber is excused for illness, and that's everyone. I see the city administrator, and I assume we have someone from the city attorneys online.
Good evening, Mayor. Christian Gates with Keenan Bean.
Hey, Christian. Thanks for being here. All right, so let's just go through our stuff. So the first one is an agreement concerning 340 Main Street. It's a license agreement. Can you talk us through that, Chris?
Sure. So we are proposing a license agreement, a revocable license agreement with the owners of 340 Main Street, which is the building that's at the corner of Main Street and Eliza. And it used to be Antelek and Moore, and it now has a sushi place and the Beehive and a number of other small businesses. I was out with the former building inspector looking at graffiti issues in the back of there, and we realized we have an issue. At the time we were there, they had multiple toters on the sidewalk in the back of the property that people actually do walk on. Otherwise, you have to come out in the parking lot. And then one of the businesses had also put a small dumpster. So at that point, in late fall last year, the former building inspector and I started trying to come up with a fix. There were two options. One is we could make them put it all in the building, but there's limited space in the building, and it didn't really work logistically. Or we could try to figure out how to formalize them having garbage outside in a way that didn't interfere with the pedestrian traffic on that sidewalk and minimize the impact on the driveway. So we came up with an agreement to lease approximately 220 square feet of space, which is one parking lot and then a small area that's directly behind 340 in the Eliza Street lot. We would have the licensee build a structure to put a dumpster in. Molly, you raised a question this week about site distances, and I think that's a really good concern. We'll certainly vet that when our city engineer is back next week. But what we were trying to do is basically figure out how to get the toters and the garbage cans in one enclosed space so that it looked better, and this agreement would do that. The building inspector would have say over the final design. There might be some changes to make it look more like the actual building itself, and he would also make sure it complies with any code requirements. In exchange for using that, the licensee would pay the city $2,400 a year for the 5 years. If we renew after 5 years, that goes up 10%, and that money we would put towards parking lot maintenance. We have a parking fund for things like the upcoming seal coating and restriping of some of the lots on Henry Street and the renovation of the Van Nuydyk parking lot. And so that would go towards that. Again, if the council approves that, we could sign it. The owner then has 3 months, 90 days to build that, and then we would enclose that garbage. So any questions on that? I know we had some emails before. Just so the public knows, in the packet is the draft agreement. There's a map showing the specific location of this 212 square feet, and there is also like a conceptual design. That's certainly subject to the building inspector reviewing it. But our goal is to make this look better. It would be of materials that either match the building or are natural looking, and then that owner would also be responsible for all maintenance of that. So if it gets hit with graffiti, they would have to deal with it.
Yeah, I happened to go by there last night and saw the toters in action along the back of the building. And one of the actual tenants said that in addition to what you named, that understandably, as individuals using the parking lot, the businesses walk by, they also add their own trash or recycling to there. So it runs the risk of kind of being messy and making the sidewalk not as usable as we hope it will be. So I appreciate looking for solutions. I'm also glad to hear that, looking at I'm not an expert in design, but kind of what the applicant was able to submit so far, that our building inspector, Brian, will go over this and kind of make sure that it meets whatever code and design with it as well, along with looking at the sight lines with the parking spaces that will be next to it. So, yeah, I feel like this is, a reasonable solution, kind of solving a couple of different things that I'm happy to support.
And also, you had asked via email, and I think it should be shared publicly, how did we get to $2,400 a year? That's actually a pretty good price for the city to get for one parking spot. When we did a similar lease for the adjacent property on 344, we were getting $50 a month per parking spot. We're getting $200 for this parking spot. The way we came up with it is we asked the city assessor to give us a value, and then we looked at what parking spaces we're going for at the waterfront. We're well above that, and we thought that this was a fair deal. It was significant enough that it helps us with maintenance, but it's not punitive to the owner.
Any other questions, comments?
I just went by there, and the one thing I noticed with the handicapped, you're losing the center. It kind of was two spots with no parking in the center, so someone with a wheelchair would be able to get their wheelchair out of the side. So that is a concern if it looks like we would be losing that. And also concerned of, I assume the garbage truck is going to go in the enclosure and pull out all the toters. And would the opening be towards the parking lot, or would it be on the side where it's more kind of where that bump out is, where it wouldn't interrupt if it was open? My experience is every time I see an enclosure, the doors are always wide open. So I'm just concerned of traffic, of the fence and the enclosure being an issue.
Okay, so those are good questions. The handicap spots, Pam, are on the Eliza Street. If you could pull up on your packet the aerial map that is an attachment to the agreement, you'll see two spots that are highlighted in blue as the handicap spot. The handicap spots are actually the closest to the sidewalk on Eliza Street, which makes sense. And this wouldn't in any way affect those spots. The one spot that is being lost is away from Eliza Street, near what you called the bump out, which I think is a good terminology. So let's just use that. That's one of the reasons we located it there, because that bump out already kind of makes, you're losing some space already from the bump out that doesn't fully comprise a parking space. And it also kind of shields from traffic the enclosure. Now the enclosure, it's in their interest to design something that closes easily. This is not going to be like one of those metal gates that just hangs open. What we've talked to them is about something where there's two doors that come together and then have a latch. We'll make sure it's something that closes easily. They're going to have an interest in making sure this is closed, because if it's not, any garbage that flies out, they're going to have to deal with, and then people will also, it'll be more prone to illegal dumping. So I actually think this can work, and the garbage trucks, we asked them to look at whether the garbage trucks could get in to back in and do that, and they can. Worst case scenario, they could open the doors and pull the small dumpster out and turn it and then pick it.
And is the color of the enclosure, is it going to match their building?
It will. It will be appropriate to that area. So again, they had, the proposal in the packet said, blue or gray, and the owner has moved more towards trying to match what the building looks like, so that it appears that it was built at the same time that that back of the building was done. And again, these would be appropriate materials. We're not going to let them put up a chain link fence or vinyl. This is going to be wood, stone, or block, something substantial and something that is aesthetically pleasing. Our goal here is to try to begin to upgrade this parking lot. If you've been over there, you also see the whole corner of Eliza and North has been redone because the sidewalks were actually sinking. So we've removed that, we've put fill that we're allowing to settle, and then we'll come back and do those sidewalks. But again, we're trying to do a better job of cleaning up litter in this spot, getting rid of graffiti. I'd like to get some trees planted in some new areas of this. This area needs some attention, and this was one of the first attempts when we were over trying to figure out how to deal with the heavily graffitied utility boxes. So, and we do have a couple other parking lots where this is a concern. I'm not going out looking for them, but this came up, and because the building inspector was there, he cited them, and then it started a process of we either have to take it inside or we have to formalize it in a thoughtful way outside.
That was, I kind of had that on my list. And I did go by there, are there any other of those businesses now that are a concern of blocking the sidewalk? Because I know there's a few dumpsters. I'm just looking at my picture.
The last time I was over with the building inspector, I didn't see any.
Okay.
I mean, the area needs some beautification and improvement. We often take for granted the back of these spaces, but a lot of people park there and enter from the back, or park there and have to walk past it and then come to Main Street. So, first we were trying to beautify Main Street. We've made a lot of progress on that. Now we're starting to come off Main Street and look at the other areas. You see, we've done similarly on Henry Street by planting additional trees and trying to have more regular litter pickup. And again, if we can't figure out, if the city engineer flags that the site issue is enough of an impediment not to do it, then you've given the authorization, we won't pull the trigger on it. And we will vet that.
And it won't be an issue with snow removal?
No, because they'll have to be responsive. We can still plow in front of it. We're not going to go right up to the fence, and then they'll have to clear so the doors can open. And they have to do that sidewalk in the back anyway. There's a little bit of an overhang, but it still needs some attention in the winter.
I wanted to clarify something I thought you said, Chris, about maintenance, that the city would be liable for cleaning up graffiti or artificial damage to the unit. Was that right?
No, the graffiti on this structure would be solely the responsibility of the owner. We've been addressing graffiti all over the city. So I've had people go through the parking lot and clean it up multiple times.
Okay, yeah, that's how I had read the agreement, so I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, no, the maintenance is on the owner.
Great.
And we haven't done any one of these agreements before for any business that you're aware of, or?
No, we did one in 2021 or 2022 for the adjacent building at 344 Main Street. They needed a certain number of parking spaces, at least on paper, in order to get their certificate of occupancy. And at that time, we made a deal with them for some number of spaces, and I forget the number, and it was about $50 a space. and they pay us quarterly on that, and that also goes into the parking fund. Now, the nice thing about that, it really was a paper transaction, and we never even put up signs saying this is a reserved spot, and they never asked for that. The nice thing about this parking lot is you usually have extra room. This isn't as tight as Van Nydek or Cliff Street or Cross Street.
I think it's tighter than you think.
Well, I'm over there quite a bit, so.
On the weekends, it's packed.
Okay, well, on the weekends is,
Yeah.
Again, most of the week, there are plenty of areas here.
I just would want to make sure that nothing changes with those 2 handicap spots, because they're probably the best handicap spots right now in that parking lot.
Nothing's going to change with those.
Okay.
We wouldn't lose handicap spots. If
Okay.
anything, we're going to be adding handicap spots.
Okay, everybody good? All right, as long as we can all go forward on this one, then the next one is a resolution authorizing the administrator to submit an application for a water quality improvement project, and we'll see the other one. Start on this one, and then we'll do the next one. Chris?
So this is an issue that many of you have voted on in the past. This is the rehabilitation of the Melzinga Dam, which is in the town of Fishkill. This is the smallest of our 3 dams, and it contains about 58 million gallons. We primarily use it in the spring when the water quality is best. It is a Class C high hazard dam under New York State classification, and the dam requires improvements and stabilization in order to be resilient in the face of the increased high precipitation events that we have. So this rehabilitation is about a $4 million project right now. We're estimating $3.9 million. Last year we applied for a grant through the clean, both of these we've applied for in the past, and one year dams were not their high priority. In another year we didn't have the matching funds set up properly, which is why one of the reasons we're doing the resolution, to show we have the matching funds. So we are going for 2 grants. We don't expect to get both. If we get one or the other, we'll be quite happy. The dam project is shovel ready. We have the permit to construct from New York State DEC. There's a little bit more engineering work to finalize the bid documents, but if we got the award, we can move forward with this in the spring of 2026. The project basically would increase the spillway capacity 5.6 feet. It would add on the parapet walls on top of the crest of the dam, and it would also replace corroded pipes and valves. It would stabilize the dam by adding weight both to the top and the front of the dam so that we don't have a failure, and by increasing the spillway, what you do is you're controlling the water that's coming through your spillway, and it doesn't crest over the top of the dam and then either come down in an uncontrolled manner or by overtopping the dam, possibly undermining the structural integrity. So this is an important project to move forward on. The WQIP grant allows us to apply for up to $2.5 million, and we're going for 2.5. So our match is 1.4 million. On the second grant, the Climate Smart Community, which has a little bit different focus, so we're trying both routes. That's up to a $2 million grant, and in that case, we would have a $1.9 million match. This money has already been allocated in the 2023-2027 capital program and the 2025-2029 capital program. So initially we did it for 2.9. 2 years later we added $1 million. So we're fully covered on that, and we just need resolutions to be able to submit these.
Questions, comments? Yeah, the only thing I'll point out is of our various projects, this is the biggest one coming down the pike, especially in water and sewer. So, we chase down funding, right?
You had to say coming down the pike, didn't you?
Yeah. So,
Awful.
well, Nick's not on the call, so, you know, I gotta try
Thank you.
to keep up with him.
Makes me feel at home.
You know, and we deferred a year because we thought we didn't get the grant last time, let's work on it. So I think, you know, this is a key item for us. And again, you've already approved it, so.
Yeah. When do you expect to hear about these grants, Chris, if we're successful or not?
It's hard to know. Usually in the fall, we get some sense. I mean, they go with the timeline for the consolidated funding applications, so these are due at the end of this month. Depending on when the state wants to get them out, usually we hear by fall.
And if we don't receive the grants, then the project wouldn't go ahead?
Well, as we've told the state, there's no way we're doing this project unless we get $2 million or more, and I'm sticking to it.
Good.
Even though we'll probably do it anyway. We need to do the project. It's a high hazard dam. Some of you may know that the original dam that was there actually failed in the early 1900s. And you can see the remnants of that old original dam, and that caused both property destruction and loss of life downstream. So these are important, and we see the rate of rain. You know, we had local flooding the other day because we had 2 to 3 inches in the course of 2 hours. So again, we know that climate change is coming, it's accelerating, and we need to take action to make sure that our facilities are resilient enough to manage that.
Yeah, we've spoken about the importance of this, and I appreciate the description. So, and it's, you know, the urgency of pursuing this grant now is particularly important with what's happened to FEMA grants that are supposed to be building resilient communities that have, to many people surprised, thought that was going to be administration agnostic, has been taken away. So, appreciate the urgency in pursuing this.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the other one, but the other one's same topic.
Yeah, it's the same topic, and I just want to say this, we're able to apply to this because we are a climate smart community, and I do appreciate Faye Leone, our climate smart coordinator, who just recently submitted all of our paperwork for a recertification that was due last week, and that program has been a great benefit to us. And again, their focus is a little bit different than water quality, so we've focused on a little bit different things in that grant application, and this would be for $2 million for climate smart communities.
Okay. All right. If you want my sense of odds, the odds are pretty good at getting one of these, but I don't want to jinx it. So. Okay. Last one for the workshop is the special use permit. It's an extension, and it's for 416-420 Main. And Christian, you're going to take us through the extension proposal?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
So the city received a timely request by the owner of 416-420 Main Street to extend its special use permit while it closes out some final remaining matters towards the issuance of its certificate of occupancy. Those matters are currently being handled by the building department. Our office spoke with the building inspector about what needs to get done, and it seems like he's going to be working with the owner to get those last remaining items to get closed out. However, in the meantime, their special permit technically lapsed on the 30th. However, they submitted a timely request, so it is really still pending, and they've asked for another 6 months extension in order to complete those improvements. And just some highlights of those improvements: there'll be a park sign for public space, just notifying the public. There needs to be an additional access point. The building inspector is going to work with them on some green space, as well as adding in garbage can and recycling cans as well. But the first main building that fronts on Main Street has already been issued a temporary certificate of occupancy for the entire 4 floors. I understand that there's already a commercial establishment on the first floor, as well as tenants and everything on the remaining 3 floors.
Yeah, and Christian, my question, I don't think it'll take them 6 months. I mean, I saw the list, right?
Yeah.
But we're just being prudent. They're just being prudent, and we're saying okay, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's my only question. Comments, folks? And we know which building this is, right? It's one on the corner of
Skank.
Main Street and
Yeah, Main Street and Skank. And yes, it has the new restaurant, The Wild, on the corner. Yeah, I appreciate the detail. I particularly appreciate Brian, our building inspector, kind of working with the applicant to complete the additional items for the public space. I actually went into it last night just to check it out, but if I didn't know it was there, I wouldn't be surprised if people aren't aware that it's actually accessible to the public. And so I think anything we can do to make that clear to people would be great.
And they will need to abide by all the conditions in their site plan approval in order to get the final certificate of occupancy.
Great.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Are we okay to adjourn that? I will take a motion to adjourn the workshop then.
Motion to adjourn the workshop?
Second.
So Molly and Pam, I will accept no conversation on it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Great.